Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Clarissa Jaime of MBA 1A, and I'm about to discuss the Chapter 9 of the book Advanced Research Methods by Dr. Marmelo V. Abante, Dr. Jesus P. Briones, and Dr. Florinda G. Vigante. The Chapter 9 of the book is all about the critic and evaluation. Before we proceed with our discussion proper, let us first take a look at the course intended learning outcomes or objectives. By the end of this discussion, we will be able to evaluate the overall structure and organization of a research or thesis proposal, assessing how effectively the proposal is organized, the logical flow of ideas, and the clarity of the research objectives and methodology. Next is assess the research design and methodology proposed, including the appropriateness of the research methods, the feasibility of the research plan, and the alignment of the design with the research objectives and questions. Next is examine the depth and relevance of the literature review and theoretical framework provided in the proposal, determining whether the literature review adequately supports the research questions and how well the theoretical framework underpins the proposed study. Next is identified and articulate the strength and weaknesses of the research proposal, including the significance of the research problem, the clarity of the research hypothesis or objectives, and any potential biases or limitations in the proposed study. And lastly, provide constructive feedback and recommendations for improving the research or thesis proposal, including suggestions for refining the research questions, enhancing the methodology, and addressing identified gaps or shortcomings in the proposal. Now that we are familiar with the course intended learning outcomes of this specific chapter, we can now proceed with our discussion proper. First, let's define what critic and evaluation is. Critic and evaluation involves a systematic assessment of a research or thesis proposal to determine its validity, relevance, and potential impact. This process requires an in depth analysis of various components of the proposal, including the research problem, the objectives, methodology, and literature review. The goal of critic and evaluation is to identify strengths and weaknesses, ensuring that the proposal is well structured and scientifically sound and capable of contributing valuable insights to the field. So, for the next slide, we will discuss the critiquing of research or thesis proposal. What is critiquing of research or thesis proposal? This involves a detailed examination and assessment of the proposal to determine its academic rigor, feasibility, and potential contributions to the field. This process is essential for ensuring that the proposed research is well conceived and capable of producing meaningful results. The critic typically covers several key aspects of the proposal, and those several aspects of proposals are: number one, research problem; number two, objectives; number three, methodology; number four, literature review; and lastly, the overall structure. A comprehensive critic helps ensure that the proposal is well conceived, feasible, and capable of making a meaningful contribution to the field. With that being said, here is a comprehensive discussion of critiquing a research or thesis proposal in 18 paragraphs. Number one is introduction and background. This section of a research proposal sets the stage for the study by presenting the research problem and its significance. A thorough critic involves assessing whether the introduction, clearly defines the research problem and explains why it is important. The background should provide enough context to understand the research issue, including relevant historical, theoretical, or practical information. Number two is research problem and objectives. The clarity and specificity of this section are crucial for a well formulated proposal. The critic should evaluate whether the research problem is clearly stated, well defined, and focused. Additionally, the objectives should be smart, should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And a strong proposal outlines precise objectives that address the identified problem. Next paragraph is the research questions or hypothesis. Effective research proposals include clear and relevant research questions or hypotheses that guide the study. The critic should assess whether these questions are um, or hypotheses are well articulated, logically derived from the research problem, and aligned with the objectives of the study. They should also be feasible and capable of being addressed through the proposed methodology. So for the next slide, number four will be the literature review. This provides a foundation for the research by summarizing existing knowledge and identifying gaps that the proposed study aims to fill. The critic should evaluate the comprehensiveness and relevance of the literature review. It should assess whether the review includes up to date and pertinent sources and if it effectively contextualizes the research within the current body of knowledge. Next is theoretical framework. So this section should be well integrated with the research problem and objectives, and it should guide the methodology and analysis. The critic should also examine whether the proposal presents a coherent and relevant theoretical framework. Next is research design and methodology. These are critical components of a proposal. It includes evaluating the research design, experimental, qualitative, or quantitative, data collection methods, sampling techniques, and analytical procedures. So the critic should assess whether the proposed methods are appropriate for addressing the questions or hypothesis. Next slide is the feasibility and practicality. So, the feasibility of the research proposal is an important consideration. The critic should evaluate whether the proposed research is practical given the available resources, time constraints, and scope. Next paragraph is ethical considerations. So, ethical considerations are paramount in research involving human or animal subjects. The proposal should demonstrate that it adheres to ethical standards and includes appropriate measures to protect participants. The critics should review whether the personal or the proposal addresses ethical issues such as informed consent, confidentiality, and potential risk to participants. Number nine is significance and contribution. The significance of the research refers to its potential impact and contribution to the field. The critic should assess whether the proposal clearly articulates the expected contributions of the research, including its relevant to existing literature, practical implications, and potentials to advance knowledge or address pressing issues. Next paragraph will be the clarity and coherence. The overall clarity and coherence of the proposal are essential for effective communication. The critic should evaluate whether the proposal is well organized, logically structured, and clearly written. This includes assessing the clarity of language, the organization of sections, and the overall flow of the document. Next is literature integration. So, the integration of the literature review with the research problem and objective is important for a cohesive proposal. The critic should examine how well the literature review informs and supports the research problem, objectives, and methodology. And effective integration helps justify the need for the study and provides a strong foundation for the research. Next paragraph will be the methodological rigor. It refers to the robustness and validity of the research methods proposed. The critic should assess whether the methodology is designed to produce reliable and valid results. This includes evaluating the appropriateness of data collection, the rigor of analytical techniques, and the overall methodological approach. Next paragraph is the potential limitation. So, for this one, identifying potential limitation is crucial for a comprehensive proposal. And the critic should evaluate whether the proposal acknowledges and addresses possible limitations such as biases, constraints, or challenges that affect the after research outcomes. Next slide will be the budget and resources. So, for proposals requiring funding or significant resources, the budget and resource allocation should be carefully reviewed as well. The critic should assess whether the proposal includes a realistic budget and outlines the resources needed to conduct the research. This includes evaluating cost estimates, funding sources, and adequacy of resources for completing the study. Number 15 will be timeline and milestones. A detailed timeline and milestones are important for managing the research project effectively. The critic should examine whether the proposal includes a realistic timeline with specific milestones and deadlines. A well defined timeline helps ensure that the research progresses smoothly and is completed within the proposed time frame. Next is impact and dissemination. So, the proposal should outline how the research findings will be disseminated and the potential impact on the field. So, the critic should assess whether the proposal includes a plan for sharing results, be it with relevant stakeholders, such as through um, publications, rather, presentations, or other disseminations methods. This help ensure that the research has a meaningful impact and reaches its intended audience. The next paragraph will be the innovation and originality. Innovation and originality are important aspects of a research proposal. The critic should evaluate whether the proposal presents novel ideas, approaches, or solutions. Assessing the originality of the research helps determine its potential to contribute new insights or advancements in the fields. And lastly, overall evaluations and recommendations. The final step in critiquing a proposal involves providing an overall evaluation and recommendations for improvement. The critic should summarize the key strengths and weaknesses identified and offer constructive feedback on how to enhance the proposal. Recommendations may also include refining research questions, improving methodology, or addressing identified gaps. Next slide will be the guidelines, procedures in critiquing research. So, guidelines and procedures in critiquing research involves a systematic and structured approaches to evaluating research proposals or completed studies. Critiquing a research or thesis proposals involves a evaluation of various components, including the research problem, objectives, methodology, literature review, and the overall presentation. Following the guidelines and procedures ensures a thorough and objective assessments, helping to enhance the quality and rigor of the research. And this guidelines ensures a thorough and objective assessment of the research quality. With that being said, here are some comprehensive discussion of guidelines and procedures in critiquing method. Number one is understanding the research problem. Begin by carefully reading the research problem or research proposal or study to understand the research problem. Assess whether the problem is clearly stated or clearly defined and significant. Evaluate if the problem is relevant to the field and if it addresses a gap in existing knowledge. The clarity of the clarity and relevance of the research problem set the foundation of evaluating the rest of the research. Next will be evaluating the research objectives and hypothesis. Examine the research objectives and hypothesis to determine if they are smart, if they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Effective research objectives should align with the research problem and provide a clear direction for the study. Hypothesis, if present, should be testable and logically derived from the research problem as well. Next is assessing the literature review. Read critically the literature review to ensure it is comprehensive, up to date, and relevant. The literature review should provide a thorough background on the research topic, summarize current knowledge, and identify gaps that the research aimed to address. Evaluate the breadth and depth of sources and the quality of the citations included. Number four will be examining the theoretical framework. Evaluate the theoretical framework presented in the research. The framework should be relevant to the research problem and provide a coherent structure for the study. It should guide the research design and methodology and help interpret results. Assess whether the theoretical framework is well integrated with the study's objectives. Number five will be analyzing the research design. Critic um, the research design to determine its appropriateness for addressing the research questions or hypothesis. Assess whether the design is suitable for the type of research, be it experimental, qualitative, or observational. Consider the overall strategies and how well it aligns with the research objectives. Number six is evaluating methodology and data. Examine the methodology and data collection methods to ensure they are appropriate. Evaluate the sampling techniques, data collection instruments, and procedures. Assess whether the methods will effectively capture the necessary data and if they are capable of producing reliable and valid results. Number seven will be assessing the data analysis procedure. Review the data analysis procedures to ensure they are appropriate for the research design. Evaluate the techniques used for analyzing data, including statistical methods or qualitative analysis approaches. Considered whether the analysis will effectively address the research designs and whether the results will be interpretable. Number eight will be reviewing ethical considerations. Assess whether the research proposal or study addresses ethical considerations. This includes evaluating how the study ensures informed consent, confidentiality, and of course, the protection of their participants. Next will be evaluating the significance and contribution. Evaluate the significance of the research and its potential contribution to the field. Assess whether the research addresses important questions, offers new insights, and contributes to existing knowledge. Consider the practical implications and how the findings might influence the field or practice. Number 10 will be analyzing the feasibility and practicality. Review the feasibility and practicality of the research proposal and to assess whether the research plan is realistic given the available resources, time constraints, and scope. Considered as well whether the proposal includes a feasible timeline, budget, and resource allocation to complete the study. Number 11 will be examining the organization structure. Critique the overall organization and structure of the research proposal or study. Evaluate whether the document is well organized with, of course, clear headings, logical flow, and coherence. Lastly, assess the clarity of writing and whether the presentation effectively communicates the research plan and designs. Number 12 will be identifying strength and weaknesses. Identify and articulate the strength and weaknesses of the research. Assess whether the research design is appropriate and the relevance of the literature review. Highlight any gaps if there is that may need improvement and how this affect the overall quality of the research. Number 13 will be reviewing the budget and resource allocation. For proposals requiring fundings or resources, review the budget and resource allocations is a must. Assess whether the budget is realistic and if the resources outlined are sufficient for conducting the research. Consider the adequacy of funding and availability of necessary resources to complete the study. Number 14 will be evaluating the timeline and milestones. Examine the timeline and milestones provided in the research proposal. Assess whether the timeline is realistic and includes a specific milestones and deadlines. A well defined timeline helps manage the resource project effectively and ensures timely completion of the study. Number 15 will be assessing the dissemination plan. Review the plan for disseminating research findings and evaluate whether the proposal includes a clear strategy for sharing results with relevant stakeholders. Will it be through publications, presentations, or other methods? Number 16 will be analyzing the innovation and originality. Evaluate the level of innovation and originality in the research. Assess whether the research presents novel ideas, approaches, or solutions. Originality is important for making a meaningful contributions to the field. Number 17 will be providing constructive feedback. Offer constructive feedback to improve the research proposal or study. Provide specific recommendations for addressing any identified weaknesses, enhancing the research design if there is a strength, and clarifying objectives. And last guidelines will be overall summary and recommendations. Summarize the overall evaluation of the research proposal or study. Highlight the key strengths and areas for improvement. provide a comprehensive assessment and recommendations for refining the research plan, ensuring that the study is well conceived and feasible and capable of contributing valuable insights to the field. Next slide will be the rubrics in critiquing quantitative research. Critiquing a quantitative research involves a systematic evaluation of the study's methodology, data analysis, and conclusion to determine its validity, reliability, and applicability. A comprehensive critic requires a better understanding of various aspects of the research process, from the formulation of the research questions to the interpretation of the results. Here are some rubrics to consider in critiquing quantitative research. Number one, research questions and hypotheses. The research questions is the foundation of any study, guiding the entire research process. A well defined research question should be clear, specific, and measurable. Additionally, the hypothesis should be testable and grounded in existing literature. Number two, the literature review. The literature review situates the current study within the border. It should provide a thorough and critical evaluation of previous studies, highlighting any possible gaps that the current research aims to fill. Number three will be the research design. The research design technically encompasses the overall strategy employed to integrate the different components of the study in a coherent and logical manner. Common design, whether the including rather experimental, it could be quasi-experimental and correlational studies. Number four will be the sampling method. The sampling method impacts the generalizability of the study's findings. Critique the sampling techniques used, like random sampling, stratified sampling, convenience sampling, for its appropriateness and potential biases. Number five should be data collection instruments. Data collection instruments and the tools and techniques used to collect data should be valid and reliable. Critique the appropriateness of the data collection instruments such as surveys, questionnaires, or standardized tests. Assess the validity, how well the instrument measures what it is supposed to measure, and reliability, the consistency of the instrument over time of these tools. Number six will be data analysis. Data analysis is crucial for interpreting the results of the study. Evaluate the statistical methods used to analyze the data for their appropriateness. Critique whether the analysis techniques were appropriate and correctly applied, if they are suitable for the type of data collected as well. Number six or seven will be interpretation of results. The interpretation of results should align with the data analysis and the study's objectives. Critique whether the conclusions drawn are supported by the data, and if the researchers have addressed any potential limitations. Number eight will be ethical considerations. Again, ethical considerations are paramount in conducting and reporting research. Um, Evaluate whether the study adhered to ethical standards, including informing consent, confidentiality, and the protection of the participants. And lastly, will be generalizability and applicability. Assess the generalizability of the study's finding to other context and population. So the critic, the extent to which the study's conclusions can be applied in real world settings. Considered whether the researchers or have discussed the limitations regarding generalizability and provided recommendations for future research that addresses these limitations. Next will be rubrics in critiquing qualitative research. So previously, what we have discussed is the rubrics in critiquing quantitative, but this time we will be proceeding in critiquing qualitative research. So rubrics in critiquing qualitative research are systematic tools to evaluate the quality and rigor of qualitative studies. They provide a structured framework for assessing various aspects of research, ensuring that critics are thorough, consistent, and objective. So, here are 18 paragraphs again in critiquing a qualitative research. Let's start with the introduction to rubrics. So, rubrics are detailed scoring guides used to assess the quality of qualitative research. They outline specific criteria and standards for evaluation, helping reviewers systematically analyze research proposals and completed studies. So, in qualitative research, rubrics focus on aspects such as study design, data collection, analysis, and interpretation. The next will be the purpose of rubrics. The purpose of rubrics is to ensure that evaluations are comprehensive and consistent. Rubrics help reviewers systematically assess the research quality, identify strengths and weaknesses, and provide constructive feedback. They promote objectivity and fairness in the critic process as well. Next will be the criteria for evaluating research questions. So, one key criterion in qualitative research rubrics is the quality and is the clarity and relevance of the research questions. Reviewers assess whether the research questions are clearly defined, address significant issues, and are relevant to the field of study. Number four will be assessing the research design. So, rubrics evaluates the research design to ensure that it is suitable for addressing the research questions. So, this includes examining the appropriateness of the design, like case study, ethnography, or grounded theory, and its alignment with the study's objective. So, a well designed study should be methodologically sound and capable of generating meaningful insights. Number five will be evaluating sampling and participants. So, criteria for sampling and participants assess whether the study employs appropriate sampling methods and includes a representative and relevant sample. Number six will be analyzing data collection methods. So, rubrics assess the data collection methods used in qualitative research, including interviews, observations, and focus group. Next slide will be number seven, assessing data analysis procedures. So, data analysis is a critical component of qualitative research. Rubrics evaluate the rigor of the data analysis procedures, including coding, thematic analysis, and interpretations. So, reviewers assess whether the analysis is systematic, transparent, and aligned with the research questions and data collection methods. Number eight will be evaluating theoretical framework. So it provides the foundation for interpreting qualitative data. Rubrics assess whether the study employs a relevant and coherent theoretical framework. Number nine will be reviewing validity and reliability. Rubrics evaluate the study's credibility, transferability, dependability, and confirmability. So, criteria includes how well the study ensures accurate consistency and trustworthiness of the findings. So, next slide will be assessing ethical considerations. So, ethical considerations are crucial in qualitative research. Rubrics assess whether the study addresses ethical issues such as informed consent, of course, confidentiality, and protection of the participants' rights. Number 11 will be evaluating the reporting and presentation. So, rubrics evaluate the quality of reporting and presentation in the qualitative research. So, reviewers assess whether the study presents its findings clearly, logically, and comprehensively. This includes examining how well the research report communicates the research process, results, and interpretations. So, number 12 will be analyzing the contribution to knowledge. So, criteria for contribution to knowledge assessed whether the research makes a meaningful contribution to the field. Reviewers evaluate the significance of the findings, their implications for theory and practice, and the study's overall impact on the field of study. Next slide will be assessing rigor and transparency. This includes evaluating whether the research is conducted systematically and whether the process and decisions are clearly documented. So, um, transparency and rigor contributes to the credibility and trustworthiness of the study. Next will be evaluating reflexivity. Reflexivity involves reflecting on the researcher's role and potential biases. Rubrics assess whether the study addresses reflexibility and the researcher's influence on the research process and findings. Reflexibility is important for ensuring that the research is conducted with awareness of potential biases and perspectives. Number 15 will be reviewing limitations and future research. So, criteria for limitations and future research evaluate how well the study acknowledges its limitations and suggests area for further investigation. So, reviewers also assess whether the study provides a realistic assessment of its limitation and offers constructive recommendations for future research. Next slide will be assessing integrations of findings. Reviewers assess whether the findings are coherently linked to the research questions and theoretical framework. Effective integration helps to ensure that the results contributes to a deeper understanding of the research problem. Number 17 will be analyzing the use of literature. The use of literature in qualitative research involves integrating um, existing knowledge to support the study, and rubrics assessed whether the study effectively uses relevant literature to inform the research design, analysis, and interpretation. Last paragraph will be providing constructive feedback. Rubrics guide the provision of constructive feedback. Reviewers use the criteria outlined in the rubric to offer specific actionable suggestions for improving the research. Constructive feedback helps researchers enhance the quality of their work and address any identified weaknesses. So, for the next slide, I have attached a sample rubrics for critiquing a research proposal or research paper. So, on the attached picture, there is rating scale from 4 to 1, and there is a criteria as well. So let's give the title as an example. If, for example, the title suggests the direction of the research paper, you will be rated as 4, which is the higher. However, in contrary, if the title didn't suggest the direction of the research paper, there is a high possibility that the rating will be 1, which is the lowest. Same goes with other criteria such as abstract, introduction, methodology, results and discussions, conclusions and recommendations, and we also have citations and references. Aside from the sample rubrics, we also have here a sample scoring interpretation. So if a research proposal or research paper scored between 60 to 70% or 90 to 100%, it means very good to excellent research. The research is considered very meritorious. If you have 40 to 59% or 70 to 89%, it is a good research. So the research should be subjected to minor revisions and improvement. And if you have a 30 to 39% or 50 to 69%, it is a fair research. So the research needs major revisions to be considered, but you don't have to worry because um, there is a part in the rubrics that um, super I mean professors might provide some suggestions and recommendations that may help in improving our research proposal or thesis. And if you have less than 30% or less than 50%, it is a poor research. So the research is not acceptable. And you must go back to the basic of acknowledging the research paper or thesis proposal submitted. And on the last part of the sample rubrics for critiquing a research proposal, there is a um, part in which the thesis professor would provide some strength and weaknesses and limitations towards your research proposal or towards your um, research paper. There is also a suggestions and recommendations that may help in improving the thesis or research paper. So that includes all of the chapter 9 of critic and evaluation, and I hope you guys learned something about it. Thank you again and have a great day. Bye bye.